Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Good evening.
Or good morning, good afternoon, or wherever you are.
That's my line.
Yes, okay.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. That's my line on my streams. Don't take it for here. Yeah.
Stop bullying me. You just want to bully me.
Of course, it's been a long weekend. I've had other things to do, you see.
Is this a Stadia show? We're not allowed to talk about them sort of things.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Anyway, as Duncan says, this is a Stadia. I'll take the lead. Why not? As Duncan says, this is a Stadia show. Thank you very much for joining. This is What is Stadia Done Now? We cover the past week in Stadia news and also look forward to, I believe, tomorrow's a big day for Stadia because not only is it Tuesday, blog post day, it's also first of the month for new pro games as well. So I think we've got plenty to talk about, and I think Barry might want us to get a move on. So let's go straight into it. And Duncan's gone already. Bye, Duncan. Thanks very much for everyone who's joined the chat. If you're liking this content, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, say a quick hello in chat. Try and distract us with a message. We'll see if we can bring your message up on stream. Everyone's saying Barry 100. Of course, welcome back, Barry. You weren't with us on Friday?
No, indeed.
How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Oh dear. Yes, no, camping in the Peak District, so it was all good fun.
And Salman, we've got a question as well.
No, I'm not drunk tonight. I would say I've got to go in the office tomorrow morning, and that's the reason why I'm not drunk. That didn't stop me last time. So
yeah, this has been a pretty big week for Stadia news, and we've had some discoveries today as well, which we can delve into. One discovery, we will say, not millions of discoveries, but one discovery. So where should we kick it off? The pro games?
I think, yeah, should we try and do it in some sort of order? So we start with last week's blog post, which was the pro games.
I'll make sure I get this right here. Putting me on the
So whilst Duncan is getting the picture up, brilliant. There we go. So last Tuesday, of course, we had the blog post with pro games, chock full of stuff which makes our prediction stream look absolutely silly. But we got 4 pro games coming tomorrow. That's Legend of Heroes, MotoGP 20, Blue Fire, and Kronos Before the Ashes. Duncan and I had a quick chat about this on our Friday stream. Obviously, Barry, you weren't there for that, so chance now for you to get your thoughts in.
Yep. No, I think it was as a collective. I think based on our predictions and maybe how we thought things were going to go. I think my first perception of this, the pro games for June was totally random. I literally couldn't put my finger on kind of what it was that kind of brought people to the decision behind it. Whether it was a case of, I kind of even started looking at stuff as to whether, is it games that have maybe been on the platform for 6 months, not sold particularly well, or 6 months or longer. So they've then kind of brokered a deal to kind of have them on pro so that people can try them out. I think collectively, if you look at the store value, I think there's over, I think when I totted it up, there's over £160 worth based on the actual store value of games. So I think in terms of value and content, there's probably a bit of something in there for everybody, potentially. Obviously, MotoGP is ridiculously hard, but I'm looking forward to kind of potentially giving it a bash and seeing if we can actually get good at it at some point. Duncan's gone.
Don't anticipate a Stadia MotoGP weekend coming out anytime soon. That's all I'll say for now.
But Barry, you said it was really hard and you started bashing it, and that's where I just crumpled.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Yes.
Duncan's a child today. Well, he's a child every day. But
I'm a child today. I'm a big child today.
We also had just underneath that. I'll go through the rest of the games. Actually, we talked about MotoGP 20. Blue Fire is the one that I think will be the sleeper hit this month, much like Trine 4 was last month. Actually,
I would agree with that, Sammy. I think that's a good shout. It looks like one that could be the one that potentially everybody in the community could be talking about.
What's your take on them, Sammy? Just to remind people,
I think they're a good set of 4 games. Obviously, a lot of people want my opinion on MotoGP 20. It's a game I said for a long time, but I would buy on Stadia if it went on sale. It never did. It's one of the few games that hasn't been on sale, along with, I think, Hitman 3, which is another game I'd buy if it went on sale. And Octopath Traveler, I think, hasn't gone on sale yet either.
That has now.
It has now. Okay.
It's had 2 sales.
That's okay. I'm clearly out of date on that news. Okay. Apologies. I have tried this game on another cloud gaming service, if I try and keep it Stadia specific, but I have tried this game elsewhere and confirmed I am just as bad as I remember being on some of the previous games in the series. MotoGP is a bike racing simulator, as opposed to an arcade bike racing. Like an arcade bike racer would be something like Trials Rising, or I'd imagine the motocross games we got. MotoGP is very different. It's a brilliant game. It has a lot of content covering.
I can tell you about motocross. Motocross is really, really, really difficult to play. It is. You're on a motor.
Is that difficult as well? Okay.
As in, you go round the corners, and I try and go round the corners, and I just went woohoo! The wee man.
Yes, because you don't have brakes in motocross, do you?
That's what your feet are for.
Yes, in reality, if you get MotoGP, it gets torn off. Yeah, we've got four good games there. I'm looking forward to playing through some of them. You can check that out on my channel, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people streaming these games. I believe there's a few people wanting to do a MotoGP 20 stream next weekend. I'm warning them, it might not be the way they expect it to be.
I should probably give you my take on the game.
Ruben says it right. Who can stay on the longest wins? Basically, yeah. That'll end up being the majority of the streams.
My take on the games, I think Barry touched on it with it looks real big value for money, because all these titles are 40, 50 pound, or 2 of them are 40, 50 pound, and 2 mid-range ones. For me, value is in the eye of the beholder. And the only one which is tickling my fancy is Blue Fire, and I doubt I would actually play much of it at this moment in time. I think it's the headlines look like it's a really, really good month, but I think it's one of these ones which are going to be very deceiving. I think for a lot of people, these 4 games are going to get added and not played. Yikes! But that's my opinion.
Well, you got to be honest with it. I mean, I was going to ask you the question: do you feel like this month is a little bit like you often talk quite openly about how you're a big fan of a submodel because you'd often play games that you wouldn't necessarily buy? Do you think maybe this month is maybe a little bit down that road, in the sense of there are games there that people aren't buying, or maybe would be reluctant to buy without trying it? And
yes, yeah. The elephant in the room in all this is MotoGP 20. If it was in there as a sub mod or as a sub to get you to try, why isn't MotoGP 21 there? Because if you like MotoGP 20, you're going to go, where's 21? I want to play 21 to get the newest version of it, and not there. I think hopefully that's going to come this month, basically this month. I'm talking June on Stadia, but
yeah. You have the next in the series coming after everyone else has tried out the first game. Just try and boost the sales numbers. Yeah,
and get people tempted into it. Again, my initial reaction that this month looks good on paper, and I think people are going to make a big song and dance about it. It looks really, really good, but I don't think is. Again, it's all perception. I've talked a bit about this in CGX on Saturday night. If we were just in a pure sub model, I think this would be a good month. But because it's Stadia Pro and you're paying for it, it's hard for me to actually explain. I think it actually looks worse. If that makes any sort of...
It does. I think Ruben makes a great point here. I think you should always ask yourself the question, would I buy these games?
Great point. It's also long enough it blocks out Duncan's face. Oh no, put it back up. Put it back up.
Yes.
And Duncan, if you go on your tiptoes, yeah.
Oh. Is that better?
Much better. We'll do the rest of the stream like that.
Yes, but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to actually see how this all pans out. Again, people are going to... I'll be brutally honest again. Brutally honest. People are saying this is an absolutely amazing month. I don't think it is. I think the last 2 months have been a lot better. When we got Jedi Fallen Order and we also got Resident Evil. I think them two games just wiped the floor with this month, even though probably this month is higher value for pounds or dollars. I think the last 2 months have been actually better months than this one.
It's true. We have talked about, I think Barry mentioned store value. So how much you pay for each of those games individually from the Stadia store, as opposed to, for example, how much people would play them. Are they games that people are going to play and not buy, and thus add value to the price subscription? I'm not sure. Even my misgivings about MotoGP 20 aside, it's
all fun. It's all opinions. It's not. Everybody is going to have different opinions in this, and this is what makes absolutely everything brand. Some people are going to say this is absolutely amazing. Some people are going to say, meh. Gaming is subjective. People have different tastes in games, and MotoGP is going to show that off in absolute spades.
You don't know what's coming, guys.
Yeah, I think people are in for a wake-up call for MotoGP when that arrives, and I can see it lasting about 5 minutes after people work out, oh my goodness, this is extremely difficult. I think F1's got a high learning curve on it. This is something completely on a different level.
Yeah, it isn't it just because I think you always, I always find with MotoGP, you've got the mechanic of the angle of the bike and kind of the yaw of the bike as well. So you're not just thinking about your brake points, when to turn in. You're also then trying to calculate kind of...
Is your bike straight?
Yes. Is your bike straight? Have you turned it, at the right angle to the point that you kind of got a bit of slippage? It's one to catch you out for sure. So, but I'm sure people will have fun trying to get to grips with it.
We also have
a few minutes.
Yeah, we also have today being the last day you can claim Reigns as a pro game. Have you guys played Reigns? Or what are your thoughts?
I claimed it, didn't bother playing it because I think it's a mobile game, isn't it?
I was going to say that because I have got it on Stadia. I have also got it part of Apple Arcade as well. And have I played it in either of them?
I have played it as it went on to Pro. I've played the majority of Stadia Pro games, not all of them these days, but certainly the vast majority of them. Reigns was one of them. It's basically you're building up a kingdom, but you're doing it by choosing various cards. You can choose various outcomes for queries that come to you as ruler of the kingdom, and you do it. And this is kind of why it's got the tagline in my head is the Tinder of cloud gaming, is that you swiping left and right for yes or no decisions. Duncan's got his head in his hands, but if you play the game, you'll know exactly what I mean. It is literally just the whole game is swiping left and right, left and right, left and right.
Have you got plenty of practice of that, Sammy?
No, I've played Reigns for about an hour, and I've had no practice at the other thing.
Come on, you were setting me up there. It had to be scared.
I know. I'll roll with it. We also I remember reading something that seems to indicate the not Super Bomberman, the Pac-Man one. Pac-Man Megatunnel Battle would also be leaving Pro.
Yes, that's if you actually go into the store, it says that's leaving shortly. Speaking of Super Bomberman Pro, whatever it's called, Super Bomberman Online
R19.
Yep. That has got crossplay across all different platforms this week. So if you want to jump into it, you should be not playing with bots anymore. You should be playing across all the different platforms. And it seems to have got, I'm not saying, oh my goodness, it's absolutely millions of people playing it, but there does seem to be a bit of a push towards it. It's been heavily promoted on PlayStation, and it's also been mentioned on Xbox, and there's been a couple of articles about it as well.
I believe that's free to play on all platforms as well, so there's no barrier to entry. On Stadia, you don't have to download it either.
Yeah. So. What I will tell people is just be warned. I have actually jumped in and played it this week on Stadia. Joe Duncan, he doesn't play on Stadia.
There's some good people out
there. It is taking longer to load up because you're playing it against all these different platforms now. So the matchmaking is taking a bit of it's taking longer basically to load. So just bear that in mind when you're playing it. But you should be able to play against other people around the world. And what I mean around the world, yes, it is around the world. But just having a look at things.
So we've talked about games coming to Pro. We've talked about games that are leaving Pro. We've talked about games that were on Pro, now gone free to play. Let's talk about games that aren't yet on Pro. Obviously, the big missing announcement from that blog post was anything about Ark, which we were promised in early 2021. I believe was the original quote.
Yep, it was.
We received this blog post and we all looked through it and went, hold on a minute, Ark's not on. Where's Ark? A few hours later, the official Ark Twitter account tweeted out that Stadia support will be coming in summer. I think is now the phrasing they're using, which I'm tentatively guessing that it's going to be July, but we honestly don't. And it could be a mid-month drop. It could be a mid-month drop for June. We honestly don't. Any thoughts on that?
I think it's a strange one. I mean, I think between us, we probably all knew that something was amiss anyway. Aside of the fact that for the first 3 months of the year, we predicted it as Pro and then got wind that it would be on at the end of May, didn't predict it in April, and then thought, yeah, okay, we'll predict it for May.
And then we all predicted it for June.
Yeah, and we all predict it for June, and now it's not, it's not coming. I mean, I don't know. There's certainly something there. I mean, is it just a case that they need more time in order to get it right for the platform? Is there something else kind of happening behind the scenes that we don't know about? Because realistically, from the time that they announced this, and I know, obviously it was announced during COVID, so but at the point that they announced it, they were very confident that it was early 2021. So what's happened in the process from being, well, it's coming early 2021, which gives us a 3-month window, to now it comes summer 2021. Is it a case that, I mean, I'm going to go down speculation road here and say, we've talked in recent weeks about how Ubisoft are hiring somebody to ensure that their games meet the criteria for the platform, i.e. 4K 60. Is it a case that what we're seeing here is that maybe Stadia have been a little bit more rigid in their kind of the minimum standards, and they've kind of gone back and said, look, if you're not hitting the minimum, then let's push it back. Let's delay it. Or is there just something else? It's a very bizarre situation for me, because there's been, I guess you could say in some respects it's typical Stadia because it's radio silence. But,
I think in this case it was radio silence. We've now got at least something, and Stadia seem to have confirmed that they've been retweeting and getting excited as well for a summer mix.
Yeah.
So I think
I'm just going to throw this into you. My thoughts are they have bit off more than they can chew. They were trying to put it out with the expansion. The expansions actually took over, so they've just chucked Stadia down, don't have enough resources, and that is why Stadia has slipped. I think it's just overcommitting slightly and thinking they could get it all done in one sort of big batch, and they've said, no, we're just going to just slip it. I don't think there's much, for me anyway. That's where I think it is.
Yeah.
Arc is a big game. It's one thing that I picked up on when it was first announced, is that it's something like 80 to 100 gig on consoles. This isn't a small game by any stretch of imagination. To port that over to Stadia isn't a single day's work at all. It's not one person in their shed doing it in one day. You need a team of people working quite considerable hours to do it.
So here's a question for you both then. Obviously, Ark Evolved is on Game Pass. It's available on other platforms, but there's a huge amount of hype around the game coming to Stadia. Are we seeing, similar to what we do kind of quite often within the video games world, are we setting ourselves up for a fall where the hype and the expectation for this game coming to the platform is through the roof because everybody's uber excited for it, and then it drops in the summer and then everybody's like, yeah, I've played that. Yeah. Okay, I'll move on. What do we think? Is it overhyped?
I think I know what Duncan's going to say based on pretty much the last thing you said, Barry.
Okay, do you want me to get mine over and done with?
Well, I think I'm going to agree with you. If you're going to say what I think you're going to say, then
you're saying I'm very predictable.
I'm saying you said one thing repeatedly over the last couple of days, especially, but you've been saying it for a long time.
Yeah, I have been. It is getting hyped up because it is coming to Stadia, and after this comes to Stadia, and everybody has their fill of it. It will be what's next. This is the big game which is on the radar. It'll be what's next after that. We're going to be coming on to one of the what next later on here shortly. But Ark has a learning curve in it, and it is a complete and utter Marmite game. There is some people absolutely adore it. I know Adam, Original Penguin, he is absolutely looking forward to that. That is completely and utterly his sort of jam. There's people who are really excited for this, and I can tell you now they're going to jump in, get completely lost, and they're going to go, not him for me, and jump straight back out again.
I suspect I'll be one of those people. But
yeah, Ark coming in the Stadia first is big news. It's not actually big news, just like Rainbow Six Siege coming isn't big news unless it comes with Stream Connect and there's some sort of commotion about it. It's only big news because it is a reasonably big game coming to Stadia eventually. But it is absolutely great. It's coming, as you've said, the install sizes are massive on it and all that. There's lots of positives here. But as Ruben has said, it is not usually optimized too well. So it is going to be interesting on Stadia.
Don't expect Ark to be the magic bullet for Stadia. I don't think there is a single magic bullet for Stadia. It's going to be a mix of things. It's not. As for my thoughts, I'm pretty much in lockstep with Duncan there. This is great, but it's coming to the platform. But once it drops, it will be the community will very quickly move on to what's next. You'll have people to bring this down to pretty much microcosm that is the Stadia streaming community, basically us guys and people you spot in chat, people in watching us might also watch in other time, assuming they watch other channels. You're allowed to, I suppose. There will be a few people that will continue streaming that game, but the vast majority will stream it once or twice as a flavour of the month game and then move on. And I'm as guilty as that as anyone else, to be honest. It's not a dig at any streamers in particular.
Fair enough. There we go. Talking of...
we can briefly rush through the rest of that blog post.
Well, I've got a good question here. So the next one, Ghost Recon free play days. I've got mine on, and I'm slightly out there compared to everybody else. Shock horror. What was your take on Ghost Recon free play this weekend being knocked behind Pro, and it's Ghost Recon again? We'll go with Samuel.
Personally, I've not played Ghost Recon Breakpoint. I think I played a little bit of Division 2, and that was on a free play day. But the Tom Clancy Ghost Recon series haven't particularly interested me, so I've let this one go. In terms of it being locked behind Pro, it's a free play weekend on all consoles and all PC. So on consoles, it's locked behind buying the console. And I think if you equate it to that, it's the £9 or £10 a month versus the couple of £100 for having the console. I think if you start equating it like that, it becomes a much more equal deal. As for having free play days, I think it's brilliant. I think as the game is being free play on all the other consoles, having Stadia on parity with that is absolutely brilliant. It's something we need to see going forward.
Barry!
I'm pretty much going to go at the opposite end of the scale to Sammy on this one. I think the Ghost Recon Breakpoint is, I mean, I guess some people will take it, some people will leave it. I really enjoy the Ghost Recon franchise, so Breakpoint is already in my library. If I'm honest, what I would be saying is that with the other platforms, it's a free play, and it's a kind of it's to tempt you to then sort of to buy it, which obviously the same thing applies from Stadia's perspective. If you've got Pro there and you don't have it, then you can kind of go and buy it after the free play weekend. However, I think opportunities with the free play days are a great time to potentially capture a new audience. If you can turn around to people and say, well, actually, do you know what? Ghost Recon Breakpoint is free to play this weekend. Don't bother downloading it on your PC. Don't bother downloading it on your console. Go to stadia.com, and you can play it instantly with your existing hardware. Not only do you get people to try the game and they might then decide they want to buy it, you've also got potentially a new person who's outside of the bubble wanting to then try Stadia, who then might go, actually, do you know what? This serves as a great platform, and I can build it into the kind of the multiple platforms that I play on, and it gives them the opportunity to experience it. Whereas I think locking it behind Pro, Ghost Recon Breakpoint has been on Stadia for it came out day and date, so it's going to be 17, 18 months probably, I think, maybe slightly longer than that. So if you're in the Stadia community, you're either interested and you've bought it, you're either not interested, in which case you're probably not going to play it, or if you're in certain parts of the world, you've got Ubisoft Plus and it's part of your subscription and you'll pick it up there anyway.
Would this hypothetical person not use the 30-day free trial to get Stadia Pro for that month, use it for this weekend, claim all the games coming tomorrow, maybe any other free play weekends? Would that not be the compromise they strike? Or
it depends, because it's almost a byproduct, isn't it? If that person wouldn't necessarily, if you think that people click on it in order to play Ghost Recon so that they don't have to download it on their existing hardware, they're not necessarily going out there to go, oh, I want to try Pro, or I want to try some of the other games that are in the library. They're saying, Ghost Recon Breakpoint is what I want to try. I guess that as a result of that, what you may find is in certain cases, the byproduct might be, let me have a look at what else is in the library. What else can I pick up and play? But that's why I think it should have been advertised in a way of, it doesn't matter whether you're pro or not, go and grab it. Because it could be, go and grab it. Oh, and by the way, whilst you're there, grab a 30-day trial and see what else is in, see what else is in the cloud. Whereas this is kind of very guided. You have to have pro in order to kind of play it. It's a different kind of message for me.
And I am right in between you guys. Believe it or not, I understand.
Very weird that the three of us, me and Barry, are two extremes.
Yes, I know. I am Switzerland here, which is outstanding. I understand why they're doing it, but I don't like it. That's basically it. I want them to do the free-to-play weekends for Barry's reasons there, and Sammy for years. It's for me. I can also see him. It's a perk for Stadia Pro members as well, and it's like, this is why you have to be a Stadia Pro member. But again, what they should be out here advertising this something shocking. Come play this with Stream Connect, and new way to play. It's not rocket science. It's some loads and loads of easy wins for them, and they spend an hour, maybe 2 hours tops, making a Ghost Recon Stream Connect thing. It just needs to be 10-20 seconds. Here it is, drop it down, come play Ghost Recon a new way this weekend. Boom, done, dusted. Even though the weekend's over and done with now anyway. But again, it's Ghost Recon Breakpoint again, so it's probably going to be happening down the line. So just go out and get that wee quick video done, drop it out there, play this new way, sign up and get how many games on Stadia Pro at the same time as well.
I think it's just 30, I would say.
It's just not rocket science sort of things here, because if this was Microsoft, if this was PlayStation, if this was Nintendo even, they would be out here selling this beyond belief, selling off the features and just going, come and play the games here. That probably goes into I can't say the person's point in the chat. This here. Oh, I disappeared again. There you go. I'll put my head down so you can't see me.
I'm going to go with Mont Kizator.
Yeah.
If that's wrong, I apologize, but that's where I'm heading.
Yeah, but it's basically, I think it comes to that, is they're just not out marketed, because it should be a lot better. And I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole again and again and again and again.
No, look through our previous streams, and I'm sure we'll talk about it again in future.
Yes. Next up is the Destiny 2 Crossplay beta. It was live, and it was taken away again, and then it was live again last week. I think this is absolutely great that it is happening. It is working. We're going to see more of this down the line, and
it is free to play on Stadia, regardless of if you're behind Pro, so Barry's happy.
Yes, and what the best thing about this as well is it's cross-play and cross-progression as well, but not cross-buy, it's just cross-progression. So,
as far as I understand, it's always been cross-progression, as long as you signed into the Bungie accounts, and that's been the case since Stadia launched. The cross-play is what's been added, let's say, over the past month. I can't remember the exact dates, but when the new season came out, it was accidentally leaked. I don't buy it. It was accidental. And then they took it down, and now they're bringing it back for a few days last week. I suspect by end of June, perhaps beginning of July, we'll see it in full time.
Yeah. The reason I was talking about the cross progression is if you're on Xbox or on PlayStation or on PC, you can just jump on the Stadia if you want to go see, I can't say his name, Sewer or whatever his name is. You want to get your weapons, you want to have a wee quick strike or something, and you don't have to level your characters up. It's just, this could be another big marketing opportunity for Stadia to go out here and push. Just play Stadia where you want it, when you want it. And remember, it's got cross-play, cross-progression, play with your mates on different platforms, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah,
a big speech.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think we've long talked about how extremely well polished Destiny looks on the platform. I mean, obviously, it's been there for a long time, but it looks brilliant. In terms of the way it feels, the way it plays, it's absolutely, it does look great. So the fact that you can now you've been able to jump in up until the 27th and test out crossplay, I think is great, because you can get a flavour for what it's going to be like. Not that you might not that it needs any explanation, but I think sometimes with these things, when they go live, you want to jump in and experience it for yourself to see how it feels. Are you going to be outmatched versus against some of the console players or whatever? But absolutely, it's something it's got to come. And I think crossplay, not just with Stadia, but crossplay across the board is something that we need to continue seeing more of. So that everybody can just enjoy their games together, really.
Here.
Indeed.
Yes, indeed. Speaking of which, just before we move on to the next wee bit here, Borderlands 3 is also getting crossplay as well.
Yes, that was announced for the majority of platforms. Some doubt as to whether Sony's actually included that.
Yes, Sony PlayStation are being PlayStation now, because
all we know is that the publisher has said that they can't put it on PlayStation. Now, we know from what's been going on the Apple versus Epic Store battle is PlayStation have had their troubles. No, not their troubles. Their extra requirements for including crossplay on their consoles. They're requiring the developers pay money for lost sales revenue as a result of crossplay. How they managed to calculate that is ridiculous. But everyone's putting 2 and 2 together, making 4 there. I think they're probably right, but we don't know for sure. We also had, I'm going to simplify that. We got some DLC for Power Rangers Battle of the Grid and a Super Edition.
Super duper funky edition.
Yeah, I could make a quip about kids' games at this point, but I won't. We also got Phoenix Point, some DLC there, and as normal, towards the end of the month, quite a lot of games go on sale. So Outriders, FIFA 21, Doom Eternal, Watch Dogs Legion, Scott Pilgrim vs. World, Far Cry 5, and I'm sure plenty more games are on sale in the Stadia store probably for the next week or two. Yes. So go check them out. Some sales are available just for Pro members, and some of them even Barry can buy because he will have them for everyone.
Can I just add, I am a Stadia Pro subscriber.
I know you're a Pro subscriber. I'm just continuing the joke. Yeah.
Moving on.
We had another blog post. I believe this was the following day, so the Wednesday.
Yep, it was.
I know just before we're saying about the Wednesday carry on, the reason why this was delayed to the Wednesday was because of the Olympic Games being announced, and that's why they held these announcements back till the Wednesday.
Yes, I noticed the Olympic Games was announced for all platforms over this week. So yes, for people, I never really saw anyone asking why these games weren't included on Tuesday, but it was admittedly a question in the back of my head as to why they didn't just bundle it all into one big blog post, because these are 2 very, very good games to get onto the platform. So Control Ultimate Edition. Barry, I think you've played through Control on, I think you might have done it on GeForce Now. I can't remember.
Yeah, I did a first look on GeForce Now, and I have been playing through it on there. a little. I haven't finished it, but
and we also got the Olympic Games, which, as I joke, will probably be the only way the Olympic Games actually gets played this year. I still think it will get called off at the last minute. As I said, 2 brilliant games. For some reason, you can race as Sonic in the Olympic Games, which why would anyone race as anyone other than Sonic? Because surely you just win.
of course. It's I mean, it's one of those sports franchises that kind of whenever there is, a big event such as the Olympics, you normally get a title drop out. Everybody goes crazy for it. That they've kind of got an interest in it for a little while and kind of dies down, doesn't it?
We've said this already, but yes.
Well, I mean, the Olympics last for 4 weeks, and generally speaking, with an Olympics game, you get sucked in with the event as such. That event, that the sporting event that's going along with it, which then kind of makes you jump into the game and play it, and you go through it, and then it sits in your library, and then you come back to it at a later point when there's kind of maybe some more athletics or whatever else on.
Yeah, for me, these 2 announcements, one was a standout and one was Mia. This one, which was a standout for me, was the Olympics because it's a day-and-date release. Control coming, I said this in our chat, I've said this in multiple sessions, was not a big surprise to me because it's everywhere at this moment in time.
It's everywhere. I think 505 Games have supported Stadia on other releases recently. And yeah, this is a game that fills in the holes in the back catalogue, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It was the Olympic Games. Day and date is the big one. This was also showcased during the Sega event during the week. The Sonic event during the week, because we know Sonic is now going to be a DLC. For us in the Stadia crowd, that Sonic event is something where you should possibly set your expectations going forward over E3. By that I mean you're going to see Stadia logos on some things and Stadia logos on not on games you want to come, and they're not there. From what I've been led to believe by a number of people, it is going to be something similar to that, where you're going to see a number of key games are going to have the logos. Like I think FIFA, I've said this for about 3 or 4 months now. I think FIFA is safe and Madden is safe. So you might see during the EA Play one a logo for FIFA and Madden, but you might not see it for Battlefield. This is where you maybe should set your expectations going forward, because I know there was a lot of people upset, maybe we'll just use the word upset during the Sonic event, because then it was mentioned, PlayStation Now was mentioned, and then the new Sonic games were coming, or sorry, the remastered Sonic colors and the brand new Sonic game do not have Stadia logos on it, and it is, I know that was quite upsetting because there's a number of big Sonic fans out there, and it doesn't look like Sonic is making his way over officially. I'm not counting the DLC. That's some sort of troll thing, I would say.
I did notice that the Stadia YouTube account had used the Sonic image in the thumbnail for the Olympic DLC, which I thought was a brilliant, little bit clickbaity, but we're all YouTubers. We all know how the system works, and
yeah, exactly. But at this moment in time, I think this is where we're coming into the fun season. We're going to be touching briefly under the fun season, because some of the fun stuff has started to happen. Just set the bar at that sort of the Sonic sort of event level, where you're going to see one or two Stadia logos there, but the vast majority won't be there.
Do we think that? I guess that, this probably leads to a question. And it may, on the surface, it may sound like a daft question, but if we are true and really look at it, does Stadia need every single game?
Not every single game. That brings us to the
if you are picking and choosing, there needs to be some priority given towards some games as opposed to others, should we say?
That brings us to the discussion over the last couple of days on Twitter, which I've been getting yapped at about Biomutant. Is Biomutant not coming to Stadia Day and Date a big sort of issue? Yes and no. I know Biomutant has got absolutely slated by a number of people out there. If you look at the game sales, it was the number one seller on Steam last week. It was the number two seller in hardware or physical for the UK. So it was a big, massive game, and that not coming to Stadia is like shining a light that it was not getting every game day and date. It is going to be really awkward going forward if Battlefield. I think Battlefield for me is the one with the massive question mark over it. If Battlefield does not come to Stadia, what does that mean? If the next Call of Duty doesn't come to Stadia, what does that mean? We're getting into this situation where I know people are out there saying Stadia is still a new platform. Stadia is this. Stadia is that. Come this winter, when we get all the yearly releases and the big games, Stadia is 2 years old.
Hold on, that's 2 years since release.
Yes,
we've got evidence. We looked at. I think his name's Dolph, but the guy who placed John Justice.
Yeah, Dolph Zimmerman.
Seems to have been working at Google's gaming department, whether it's called Stadia from the outset, as far back as 2013, which is when the original Chromecast was released. So the Stadia isn't a new platform.
It isn't a baby. It can't be counted as a baby anymore. And I just want to Eddie's point, all the games launching on Xbox and PlayStation, yes. Otherwise, supplementary platform where I can't count in the platform. And this is where I am. And this is where I think they need to go to the sub model, because if you're a paid platform first, you need basically all the big games day and date. If you're a supplementary platform like Luna is, or GFN's a supplementary platform to PC gaming, they can get away with not having games day and date, even though GFN are really pushing.
GFN now getting a fair amount of games day and date.
Yeah.
They're missing out on stuff as well. We talked about Resident Evil before not being on GFN.
Yeah.
There's no word of any F1 title on GFN at the moment.
It won't be their EA when they got Apex there. So this is where I don't understand the supplemental platform for Stadia, because if you're a supplemental platform, you need to be supplementing something. But if you've got an Xbox or a PlayStation, Stadia isn't really going to be supplemental in that, because you can get all the games on Xbox and PlayStation. And when you get trapped into them app ecosystems, or if you're lucky enough, you've got both consoles, you've got choice to jump between the two if there's better deals and all this. And I'll be frank again, if you get a next-gen system, going back to Stadia for some of the games is actually taking a step back, especially these big AAA games. The indie games you can get away with absolutely no problem, because it's not as intense, and it is 4K 60, but we've talked about it before. Resident Evil Village is a brilliant port for Stadia, but compared to the Xbox or PlayStation, if you can get your hands on it, it's not as good, and it is very, very noticeable. So Stadia is in a real tricky position here, because we've talked about it before. If you don't get all the games day and date, you're going to get people moving away. And you've just mentioned the game again, and I think that is the biggest game at this moment in time in a Stadia perspective, because there is an absolute player base for that in F1 2021. If that does not come, people are going to jump ship. And if you jump ship onto a PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X or S, you're going to have a real tough time to bring them back. There's my mini rant.
And he's also. I was going to say he's also being frank again. So
yes,
yeah.
And just to get to the other big massive elephant in the room about the Series S and the Series X from Xbox, you will be able to play xCloud through the console. We know that is coming and it's on its way. So the storage space there could end up becoming null and void because you'd be able to play your Series X, or sorry, your Xbox games through your Series S with Series X blades. Because just remember, the Series S, I hate all these flipping different terms here. The Series S is actually 4K capable with the output, so you could be able to play xCloud 4K.
It's a good shout. That's a really good shout. I mean, we've been talking about that being the hybrid of the ones that people aren't ready to let go of physical hardware, but want to see what cloud is all about and exactly what it can offer them. Because ultimately, for some people in their buying decisions, they are not ready to take away that safety blanket of having a box under the TV. They still kind of need it. So if they can have that, something like a Series S, and then play in the cloud, it's the best of both worlds. And that's, you almost then find people getting ingrained into, well, actually, I'm going to turn my Xbox on, but I'll load xCloud and I don't have to worry about downloading the game or updating it. I can just play it straight through the console and take the benefit of the output to the screen as well.
Yeah, I will take this point. We do not bash. We sing praises when it's due. We've done this tonight, and good gets. Stadia's had a reasonable week. We also put in the when things aren't so good as well. So I think we just try and keep the conversation honest. And I know that may rub people up and down the wrong way.
It may do, but like anything, whether it's your product, whether it's somebody else's, if you can't be honest enough to critique it and pull out the areas that it needs to improve, then you're never going to improve. You're always going to stay where you are. And I have to say, I know we made a couple of jokes at the top of the show about me being away for the weekend. I took my Kishu with me. I had mobile data. I tried xCloud. I tried GFN, and I tried Stadia. And I'll be honest, I played on Stadia this weekend because GFN over mobile data eat data. I was in Biomutant for about 4 minutes and used 2 gig of data.
Ouch.
It was absolutely enormous. xCloud was kind of, over the data where it was, because it was kind of I was getting 4G. So I wasn't getting 5G like I do normally in and around my normal area, but I was getting 4G. xCloud was kind of a little bit slow. It was getting there, but it was slow. Whereas Stadia, I could literally open the app, bang, straight in, and I was playing F1 2020. And it was, there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. I just thought I'd throw that in.
Yeah, I can tell you now, at this moment in time, if you're going to say which is probably the most stable, easy to use platform, I think we're going to be all. And if you're going to say recommend one cloud platform at this moment in time, we're not talking about future. We're not talking about what could come next 2 weeks. We're talking right this moment for ease of use, the game library, and the whole mix. It would be
the best balance is Stadia. Yeah,
the best balance is Stadia at this moment in time. The problem for Stadia is all the others are catching up real quick. We've talked about GFN a bit here, where GFN is actually, they're getting the games, you're getting faster loading in, and if Barry's just said about his mobile experience there wasn't too great. If you're playing it on PC, it's absolutely fine, or over your Wi-Fi. everyone has its pros and its cons. I think that is it. And Stadia's pros at this moment in time is ease of use and the data management. If you have to worry about your data management as well.
Yeah, definitely.
We've got a very. Why do you play games if you're camping? It was to cover up bits because he was in nature.
Wait, what? No.
Yeah, we're speaking of which, we need to move on from this thing. We also had some other good news this week for Stadia, and Far Cry 6 was officially confirmed. Not officially confirmed, it's been confirmed for a while, but reconfirmed, and we got the demo and the gameplay. Did you manage? I know, Sammy, you didn't the last time I was speaking to you because it's not your sort of game.
No, I still have. I've not watched the Horizon stuff from PlayStation either. I've not watched many gaming videos the past weekend. I've been busy gaming.
Have you managed to see it? That would be a no answer.
I've seen very small snippets, but not enough to kind of pass any real judgment, if I'm honest with you.
Okay, basically just think of it as a more Far Cry, but this time with your bloke being the evil person and stuff like that. For me, there's nothing really that new about it. It is just more of the same. It hasn't got me really, really excited. And I think coming off the back of Horizon has probably not done it any favors because that was just looking absolutely stunning. And that was running on PlayStation 5. I can get all the technical and all this sort of stuff, why that looked so much better than that, even though both for cross-gen. It's because Far Cry 5 is cross-gen because it has to go right down to the lowest of the low, which is the low Xbox. Remember the original big, massive Xbox, where is it? Oh, it's just over there on my shoulder. You can see it over my shoulder. The big old Xbox. I have to challenge to that. Well, PlayStation can do. It's a first-party title. I don't think it looks groundbreaking. It just looks more of the same, and I think that'll be good enough for most people. And I think that is probably going to be one of the showcase titles for Stadia over the winter time.
Again, and another day and date release.
Another day and date release, and I'm going to tell you this as well. I can't even remember. I know so many people are actually really excited. So I know I think there's two camps. I'm in the camp where I think it looks okay. It's not got me. It hasn't blown the socks off or anything like that. And other people are going absolutely amazing. Looks absolutely class. I'm in the slightly more. It looks alright. I'm going to play it at some stage. It hasn't sold me to get it day one. If that makes sense to people.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know where you kind of more do. I guess this goes back potentially to the point we're making earlier, but does it look like an Ubisoft Plus title where you'll pick it up in the sub and you'll get round to it when you want to?
Yes, basically.
For me, the majority of Ubisoft games are Ubisoft Plus. Yeah. I won't bother buying an Ubisoft game outright because I can use Ubisoft Plus and play through GeForce Now.
Just to say, it isn't just me saying it. It's just you just had to get the proof that I'm not being negative. There's other people that actually think that as well. For me, yeah, I think we're at the awful period in gaming for people who have been around gaming for a long time. The cross-gen period where they don't want to fully commit to next gen because there's so many people in old or last gen's tech, so they're trying to please both, and we just don't want to get a cyberpunk situation.
End up somewhere in the middle where it's kind of like a little bit more polished than what you were accustomed to last generation, but not quite what you would expect to get out for the new generation.
It doesn't run brilliantly on either. It's what we ended up with Cyberpunk, but yeah.
basically that's what they basically came out and said. They don't want to do another Cyberpunk, so I think they've went to probably wiser. I think they're going more that gen rather than next gen. If that, I don't think they're going to be pushing any boundaries with it. Just keep that in mind. I think it's just more of the same, just with a different location and things like that. Again, I think it could do really. I think it could do really well in Stadia. Should I put my bold prediction out here?
Go on,
man.
Go on.
Go on.
And then in 6-7 months we can look back at it
and laugh.
Yep. We're all counting down the days. You do know that.
Yes, I think we're going to see this go on sale really early. I think we're going to see discounts in this because I think it's coming at a bad time. We're going to probably get Horizon. You're going to have Call of Duty. You're going to have Battlefield. It's going to be just surrounded by a load of big hitters, and probably big hitters we don't even know about yet. And that, plus with the thing of Game Pass as well, they could drop a couple of big games into that. I think I'm a little bit worried, not from a game perspective. I'm just worried that it's just going to end up getting lost in the wider sort of spec of things.
It does tend to happen quite a bit with Ubisoft games, doesn't it? It has that really kind of almost grand launch of the expectation, the weight of the kind of the next installment of a franchise. Give it 2 or 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden you can get it for like a third of the price. It kind of completely. They do seem to tumble pretty quickly.
Yeah. So I think this is going to be a good title for Stadia. I think this is my number one thing I want on Stadia. Give us the choice of a 30 super duper version or 60 low quality and everything like that. It needs to have a 60 FPS option. That's all I'm asking for the Stadia version.
Yeah, definitely.
I think we've got to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Also,
I was going to say, I think there's only one more bit of news, which was this morning's.
Yes,
about. Is it Fast and Furious?
Fast and the Furious.
And then they start putting numbers in between the letters.
Yeah, I got all confused. And apparently they're saying it. I've read things Mario Kart like. They're trying to go for that sort of thing. So it's an arc. Yes, you heard that right. It's being compared to like Mario Kart by some places. But so expect like a more arcadey sort of fun one. And I think with it being priced at that mid-range price, which I want to see more games priced at the mid-range price of €35, €35, and I think it was yo-yos, yes.
Yeah.
And $35 sort of mark, the nice you get back to your Tinder there. And we I think we need to see more of that, and I think we'll bring up Barry. I think if Barry Maiden was at that price, I think it would have sold gangbusters.
Yeah,
I'm just trying to reconcile the Fast and Furious and Mario Kart.
Yeah, I think it's just because
if it's like that, brilliant. Arcade Racer on Stadia, something I've wanted for ages. The Crew 2 is about as close as we get, and it's not really an arcade racer. But having some, because presumably when you talk about Mario Kart, like I'm imagining power-ups and boosts. And
I only had a wee quick look at it, but it was, oh geez, I'm going to get in trouble for saying it. It was IGN, I think, said it was like the Mario Kart.
But no, if that's coming to Stadia as a Mario Kart-esque title, then I think that's brilliant, because that's one of the genres of games that I think is sorely missing. If MotoGP is going to be a game that everyone goes in for 5 minutes and quickly realizes they're not up to the task and logs out, something like Mario Kart, an arcade-style racer, could go really well on Stadia.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially if if they maybe hone in on this kind of cartoon aesthetic and kind of throw in a little bit of the kind of the light trails from Rocket League coming out the back of the car when you kind of give it a bit of boost, and then kind of throw in, I don't know, all sorts of, I don't know, road spikes, or there's a variety of things you could throw in. Just it would be great fun, wouldn't it? And I think I agree with you as someone who absolutely loves Mario Kart. It's definitely
does.
Well, yeah, of course. It's certainly something that I think would serve the platform really well, because I think as a community, they'd have a tremendous amount of fun with it.
Yeah, and it's got co-op and multiplayer. That is all confirmed and all that sort of carry on. So I think it could be one of these games. I think we're going to probably have to see a bit more of it, which could really do well. And I think it's one of these titles, and I hate using, be a good Stadia Pro title, I think, get it on there, get play along.
Having it either on Stadia Pro or a cheap enough level. You talk about mid-range. I'm thinking maybe a little bit cheaper, possibly around £15-20, or hopefully free to play. I don't know, maybe we're yo-yoing now.
I think
Barry, you should stop that. Stop.
Me? Not me at all.
Barry, yeah.
I was just going to bring up Gandara's comment actually, because I think it's I think that's a great shout, and I know it's something we. I use the term "we" loosely. I think it might have maybe been me, so I don't want to tar everybody with the same brush. But when Outcasters came out, I remember saying that the Outcasters character would be a perfect mascot.
Yes, I do remember that.
And I think you are right. There is something that if you look at kind of each, each platform, there is something that was Sega obviously with Sonic, Nintendo, Mario, Halo. You've got Master Chief, Sony. I'd probably go with Crash or Ratchet and Clank. I guess would be.
I wouldn't say Ratchet and Clank. I'd actually say Astro.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
See, the thing about PlayStation is you could name a couple. You said Astro, you've said Crash, even though he's Crash in the original. You could say Kratos is one. You could say Alva is one.
I'd never consider Ratchet and Clank, because I love Ratchet and Clank. I wouldn't. I'm shocked at the amount of press that the new Ratchet and Clank game is getting.
I think the reason it's getting so much is because it's the first title which really looks next gen. Yeah,
but for me, it's this tiny little series which when I was playing on PS3, no one really knew about it unless they actually played it. And now everyone's talking about it. It's a bit surreal for me.
If we bring it back on point for a second, look at Gandara's statement. Who would you guys put out there? Have you got any kind of nominations in mind from a game that we've got in the library at the moment to kind of put forward a mascot or
the offline dinosaur?
I'm saying nothing, because this could open up an absolute can of worms.
All right, you complete the fifth.
But I will just bring this up. How can you have a mascot as your lead person if you don't have a first person or first party studio anymore? Yes, you just realized.
I agree. So you'd have to do it. You'd have to do it something that's associated with Google.
Yes, the dinosaur.
And something would be associated with the Chrome browser. That's why I'd say the offline dinosaur.
Yeah, I think the best one was the Outcasters one, but that looks like that ship has now sailed as well. The dinosaur could be. I really don't understand why they haven't made that dinosaur just fleshed out a bit more, because that would be just something random. And they could have actually put something into the web browser as well. Maybe they're worried about competition. Come play the fuller version of this on Stadia. Bang, there you go. But it's for a mascot, you're going to need an exclusive game for it to become a mascot, because Mario, Master Chief, Kratos,
the girl from Guilt is what we've been saying. Put that up. Trying to remember little bit more about Guilt? I've played a little bit of it.
It's a girl which has two odd eyes, the two different coloured eyes, and it is the sort of adventure sort of game. It was a solid game.
It really was,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably one of them titles which would have probably got a lot more love on other platforms, because I think it just needed more exposure to maybe just to get it pushed on a bit more.
And as it was a launch title on one of only about 15 or 20 games at launch, so obviously had a lot more exposure, a lot more people playing. It was only available on Stadia, so if people wanted to play it, they could only buy it there. It was, yeah, I heard a lot of good things about it. I waited for it to go on to Pro. And I remember playing through the first level, but not much beyond that, I don't think.
Yeah. Again, I really hope that they do something, and we can get a mascot of sorts. So we can go. Everybody makes fun of Halo, but that's what Xbox people flock behind. Then you've got PlayStation have got the choice of a couple of different characters. I just remember you've got Nate from Uncharted as well. It could be another mascot for them. They've got a couple to go for. The Nintendo have got Mario. It's just hopefully they will.
Why, Ruben? Why?
I think that, to be honest, I associate Lara Croft. If you're going to say which platform do you associate Lara Croft with the most?
I think majority of people actually say Xbox.
PlayStation
all day long.
Yeah.
Just yeah.
I suppose the originals. So.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's got there is potential there for a mascot, and I think the best one was, I think there was no point saying the game, was Nightcasters, even though everybody knows my feelings on Nightcasters. I'm not saying I was right. Sammy won't say I was right either.
I'll never say you were right.
I know. I may not be I can't remember what I was going to say. Just let me just go back to sleep.
I think as Duncan wants to go back to sleep, I think that might actually be a good point to leave it. We've gone through the week's news. Anything we want to put out there as bold predictions? We've obviously got the pro games dropping tomorrow. Anything that anyone particularly wants to mention that we haven't mentioned already?
I'm going to go bold. I think if Stadia were smart, they will get their E3 announcements done this week. When I'm talking about their E3 announcements, I'm talking about the games we sort of know what are coming. Like, I can see the games logo. There's some of these games which have been listed and we find out, and they haven't been officially. Stadia haven't officially said, like Rainbow Six, For Honor. I'll have a mini E3 this week, but in blog posts, so it just gets people excited for what is going down the line here. And because any news over the next couple of weeks is just going to get overshadowed, and we're already starting to see the announcements. The leaks have actually started today of what's happening at E3. Spoilers, there's a new 2-point series coming. I'm going to be all over that. So I think get their mini E3. If they're not going to have an E3 presentation, which I don't think they should, or a Summer Games Fest, just get some announcements. Yes, Ruben, I've seen that comment now.
Yeah, I'll support that. Yeah. Anything else? Any other business?
So I'm the only one who put out a prediction.
I don't have a prediction. I don't think it'll be a fairly quiet week. We'll see pro games. We'll see maybe a few more announcements, a few more releases. Plenty of stuff to talk about next week. But
that's what I think we need to see. We need to kind of see that social media juggernaut going, and with the new social media manager getting that kicked on. And they've certainly been, the last couple of weeks, they've been a lot more active again on social media, which is good. But I kind of, sometimes you have to agree with Duncan. I know we're generally pretty good on this panel, in the sense of the fact that we generally do have kind of our own takes on stuff, but I do agree that I think as we come into that kind of season, I think you make a great shout, Duncan, that Stadia should kind of go before the big announcements come and just literally kind of take the spotlight while they can.
Because when the big announcements do come as part of E3, they'll just get lost.
Yeah, we don't want that. Ultimately, you want it to get the merit that it deserves, and you kind of want things to be executed properly. So when we say, oh, if they put their thinking cap on, or if they had thought about this, or whatever, the opportunities that they had in front of them, these are the things that you kind of want to see them kind of do. And some of these moves, i.e. making waves before E3, is the right way to go.
Okay, and just before we go, I just want to give this Jezebel point. Do you think the platform is going to be okay? No one can say that the platform is going to be hunky-dory, and no one can say that the platform is going to die. It is people's opinions.
Unless you're Duncan.
Unless you're Duncan. Yes.
Unless you're Duncan, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is my opinion. Everybody knows what my opinion is.
Yes, I know. I jest.
Yeah, I know. No one has got their crystal ball in front of them. As long as you're happy, that is the most important thing. If you want to just play your games on Stadia, go ahead and play your games on Stadia, because that is what this is all about, is just going there and having fun playing games. We just try and keep a bit of banter going here. We do have our opinions, but I think sometimes they get blown out from proportion. But
even I'd admit that, yeah.
Never,
ever. But don't be worrying if the platform's going to be around 6 months, a year, 20 years down the line. Just play the games, and I think people will be a lot happier. And that's what we're doing. We're sitting playing the games. You're seeing the stuff go up across all the different services. We've got Stadia stuff, we have got PlayStation, we've got GFN, we've got Xbox stuff as well. So gaming is for absolutely everyone, and just go play them. And I'm not going to tell people where to spend their money or not spend their money.
It's a good shout. It's a good. No, I think you've said everything. I was going to say, I don't think you can add anything to it. You've said everything that needed to be said there.
Yes.
So I think all that remains is for to say goodbye, and we'll see you guys very, very soon. We'll be back with this show again next week. For more Stadia news, we'll have our Cloudy's Roundup on Friday nights, which will be us three again, as long as Barry's not out camping.
No,
camping.
But we'll see you guys very soon. Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye.